From the very day of its inauguration, it became far more than just a train. It displayed the ambition, the engineering capability, and the rising confidence of an India determined to design and build its own semi-high-speed train network entirely on Indian soil. This was supposed to shatter decades of dependence on foreign imports. It emerged as a powerful symbol of the Make in India movement. The train that became answer to the world, an answer to those who doubted whether India could ever deliver world-class railway infrastructure in terms of cleanliness, modernity, comfort, and the biggest, hospitality. The train that ignited belief among millions of Indians that if we truly set our minds to it, we could build not only semi-high-speed trains but eventually high-speed railway systems of our own. This train forced us to rethink and modernize our infrastructure. It actually pushed India to develop its own automatic train protection system that we call the Kavach. But ladies and gentlemen, the same train, the very train that was introduced as a revolutionary step meant to strengthen our economy, the local economy, the train that should have accelerated growth, innovation, and the infrastructure, has now turned into something that is not only hurting our economy, but I would rather say, slowly destroying our economy by disturbing the entire railway ecosystem. Before you question the very strong statement I made, destroying our economy, allow me to ask you something important. Firstly, what is the purpose of a passenger train? Your answer would probably be to carry passengers. And yes, you are not incorrect, but only partially. Because to truly understand the depth of railways, we would require a fancy new example. Let's take the example of a newly built city. A city that is rapidly attracting investment from every single sector, from construction to services. Now, obviously, for these industries to function, we require workers. But since the city is still developing, it lacks workers, it lacks the manpower. So, what can we do, or what do? We connect the nearby towns and areas to that city. And how do you do that? Through trains. Now pause for a second and think carefully. What did the train actually do? Did it just transport people? No, it expanded the labor pool available to these industries, which automatically reduces the hiring costs. A larger workforce also increased the chance of industries finding skilled labor. And what about the wealth generated inside the city? It is no longer trapped inside. The money starts flowing back to towns 30 to 40 kilometers away. How? Through the workers returning home every single day. And when people in small towns suddenly have more disposable income, local businesses begin to flourish. The shops grow, services expand, newer opportunities emerge. And how about we also take the otherwise scenario? Just imagine if there is no railway connectivity or all of those trains are just removed. It's not that people would stop working, they would still come. But now, as there is no visible mode of transport, they would be forced to live inside the same city where they work. And that's exactly where the real problem begins. A lot of those. And just to name a few, population pressure rises, congestion explodes, road traffic, let's not talk about that. Pollution increases, rents become much higher, the cost of living is felt by everybody. And the workers end up spending most of their income on rent and food, that too inside that city itself. Very little to no money reaches their hometown anymore, which actually means that the wealth generated by the city remains concentrated within a very small, a tiny urban pocket. This widens economic disparity. So, what did we actually learn from here? That trains don't just provide connectivity, they expand the labor pool. They reduce the hiring costs, they increase competitiveness, they distribute wealth to smaller towns, and most importantly, they create opportunities for new businesses in those areas as well. It also reduces wealth concentration. Somehow, it also helps people get over economic inequality. And without these trains, what do you get? Overcrowded cities, traffic congestion, pollution, rent inflation, and a lot more. Now, let's come back to our beloved Vande Bharat Express and take a look at this article. This explains how the privatization of Vande Bharat reportedly reduced the overall punctuality of Indian railways from nearly 90% to around 77% in 2026. Now you may argue, what difference does a 10% drop in punctuality really make? Trains are still running. People are still getting back home. How about we think about the laborers, people who commute every day? Traveling from a town 40 kilometers away, trying to reach work by 9 am. Somebody's passenger train is scheduled for 8 o'clock in the morning. Under normal conditions, it should get him there on time. But now, because of Vande Bharat, because of repeated unscheduled delays caused by priority clearance, he no longer knows which train will halt his journey, when he will arrive, or what explanation he will give to his boss. The train was late. How often? And when this uncertainty becomes frequent, regular, jobs are eventually put at risk. So what is the option left for this person? Move inside the city? Live closer to the work? And this does not affect only laborers. It affects students, plumbers, construction workers, daily wage earners, and countless thousands of people from the unorganized sector who depends on reliable railway connectivity every single day. If this still has not convinced you, then let me ask you one final question. What is the Indian government constantly trying to promote in order to attract industries and strengthen the Make in India initiative? Cheap labor, low production costs. But here we are with a transportation system that is steadily increasing the cost of living itself, eventually driving up the cost of hiring as well. So tell me, is that not damaging the economy? And let me make this very clear. I am not against the Vande Bharat. India absolutely needs Vande Bharat trains. In fact, we need even more sophisticated and premium trains in the future, but not at the cost of delaying essential passenger trains, not by constantly shifting priorities away from the common railway network that millions depend on every single day. Because prioritizing Vande Bharat over local passenger connectivity is in many ways prioritizing aesthetics over balanced development, when in reality both should go develop side by side.